Burnett, and I'm the Director of Resources and Communication for Canadian Foodgrains Bank. One of the questions I get asked quite frequently in my line of work is just how does Canadian Foodgrains Bank work? People understand that we have a fairly simple mission statement, and it can be boiled down into two words really, which is end hunger. However, there's always some interest in how exactly do we make our resources work, and how do we get from a position of receiving our donations, whether it's cash or grain, working through our many relationships, and we have many member agencies and partners overseas, to the final end where the beneficiary and the project participant receives the resources that we distributed. So I thought I'd spend a little time with you today just trying to explain some of those relationships a little bit and help you understand it a little more clearly.
So let's talk a little bit about how it works. First of all, we'll start with a donor. This could be any one of thousands of Canadians that support the Foodgrains Bank through cash or grain every year. This donor has an opportunity to make a designation of their donation to any one of the 15 member agency accounts. Canadian Foodgrains Bank is a collective made up of 15 member agencies ranging from the Catholics to the United Church, to the Seventh-day Adventists, to Pentecostals, Baptists, and several others. Each of these member agencies has an equity account, and there's also one account called the general account. If a donation is received that is not designated, it will go into the general account. Once the funds are in the member equity account, the member agency has an opportunity to decide how they will program these funds. The member agency will work together with a local programming partner to determine what the need is and how it can be filled. Let's say, for example, they choose to work in Kenya. They may determine what the need is, how it should be filled, and what program will be the result. For example, they may choose to do a food aid project in an area where there's been a natural disaster, or on the other hand, they may determine that it's a longer-term need and they need food security programming, which will support people for the longer term through seeds and tools or agricultural programming. On the other hand, they may also decide that it's a food justice-related project and they need to provide support for advocacy or for getting the policies changed which impact hunger. Once they've determined this, they will present a project proposal to the Canadian Foodgrains Bank program staff. Our staff will review it, will provide any advice that's necessary, and will support any changes that have to be made. Our program staff will also provide logistic support, whether that means shipping Canadian grain overseas or purchasing grain in the area of need. Once the project has gone through that process, the CEDA funds will then be added to the project. CEDA matches most of our projects on a 4-to-1 basis. That means that if the member agency designates $1,000 to the project, CEDA will provide $4,000 to increase the capacity of that project. Once that's been completed, the resources, whatever they are, whether it's food or seeds or tools, will be provided to the local partner staff on the ground. These staff will then deliver the project to the project participants. The project participants are the beneficiaries of the project, but they also participate in determining how the project should be run, how it will be governed by the local community, and whether there will be follow-up necessary or further projects necessary. Now, we like to think about this as a complete circle rather than an open circle, and so we have what we call our North-South programs. North-South programs offer us an opportunity to invest in some reciprocity, and by that we mean that we invest in the relationships with the people that we support. By this, we are communicating that we believe that they are people of value and that we can learn from them as much as they can learn from us. So we do a few different things. One of them is called a people-to-people project, where we bring project participants and local partner staff to Canada to tell us stories about their lives and to build relationships with Canadians and to give us an opportunity to learn from each other. We also have a program called our Food Study Tours. And our Food Study Tours is where we bring Canadians to the area, to the country where we are supporting projects. They have an opportunity to build relationships there and to learn more about hunger from the people who are living with it on a day-to-day basis. And our hope is always that people will return from these study tours inspired to find more ways to respond to hunger and continue to work toward an end to hunger. Now we all realize that these circles are only a limited way to tell the story, so I would like to tell you the story by taking you on a little journey. Last year I had an opportunity to visit some projects in Ethiopia. Ethiopia is an area where there's been great need for a number of years, and Canadian Foodgrains Bank has worked there in all of its 25 years of existence. Let's start out with the donor. Leo is a longtime supporter of Canadian Foodgrains Bank. He works and supports a growing project in Alberta. Now Leo is particularly interested in Ethiopia, and he supports the Canadian Lutheran World Relief, or CLWR, which is one of our members. CLWR is represented by Enoch, who's their project officer. Enoch works with a gentleman by the name of Otto Gabreus. Otto Gabreus is an Ethiopian gentleman who runs an organization called Support for Sustainable Development, or SSD. SSD works in the Afar region, which is an arid region of Ethiopia, where the people have primarily been pastoralists, but are now finding, because of climate change and because of lack of access to land and water, they are needing to settle and to do more agricultural work, grow crops, etc. So SSD works with them to do some water diversion projects and provide water so that they can now grow crops. They dig canals, and they are supported through Food for Work projects. So Enoch and Otto Gabreus work to develop their project proposal and then present it to Vera, who is our program officer. Vera works with them to fine-tune it and determine what the resources are required. She then works with James, our logistics officer, and James provides the support in providing the food for the Food for Work project and any other resources that might be required. The project is then matched by CETA on a 4-to-1 basis. Once this has all been completed, the project plans are in place, the resources are delivered to the local project partner staff. This is represented by Elizabeth. Elizabeth is an incredible woman that we met in Ethiopia. She runs the project in the Afar district for the SSD. Elizabeth is responsible for supervising about 80 staff, as well as all of the people, the local community people who are doing the Food for Work, digging the canals, etc. Elizabeth works with some of the project participants by the name of Zahari and Nora, 2 women that we met. And one of the really exciting things about this project is that it has not only changed the lifestyles of the people in the community by giving them access to more food and more opportunity to sell their food in the market because they're growing beautiful vegetables, but it's also changing the culture. These 2 women are representatives of their water users committee, and at one time no women in that area were allowed any responsibilities of leadership. But through Elizabeth's influence, they have changed some of that culture, and there are women who are now taking on greater leadership positions, which is a really interesting side benefit of having a water project in that region. Now, to complete this circle, a couple of things have happened. First of all, Elizabeth has had the opportunity to travel to Canada as one of our people-to-people visitors. A lot of people across Canada have been blessed by her visit and have developed friendships with her, and she's had a really incredible influence on people in Canada. As well, Leo has had the opportunity to travel to Ethiopia, and he has met people like Otto Gabreus and Elizabeth and Zahari there, and has been really inspired by what's going on and the changes that are happening in the Afar district. So now you know a little bit more about how we are all connected. I hope that this has given you an opportunity to understand the Canadian Foodgrains Bank a little bit more and to be inspired to get involved in the work of ending hunger. Thank you very much for your time.